But if you want to act like the princess, that ain't gonna work because there's only room for one of those here, and that's me. Men were kind of brought up that way in our society. I hate to say it. I kind of have a beef with boy moms for that reason. Like, don't even know how to apologize, don't even know how to express empathy and honor her feminine energy because they don't even want to be in the masculine energy. I hate to say it, but we're gonna go there, yes. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mindfully Aligned. As you can see, we have a bit of change of scenery and we have a little special guest with us here. I don't know when he's going to leave, but we're going to enjoy his company. This is my dog Zoo. Anyways, so I'm on my bed today, taking this episode from my bed because we are getting real this episode. We are talking about some realness. I even have my tea here. So I figured let's get comfy, let's get cozy, and let's get into it. Goodbye, doggy. So today we are talking all about the treacherous landscape that is dating in your 20s, or shall I say like early 20s, because I'm 23 and that's the perspective I'm bringing to the table today. So dating in your early 20s is a bit of a mess. We all know that. I know in the past people have asked for episodes on relationships and dating and all that, and in the past I feel like I didn't have the authority to speak on relationships because I don't even know what I was doing. But I've had some revelations the past couple weeks and I think I'm ready to comment. So let's get into the world of dating in your 20s, shall we? Let's go. So for starters, I want to highlight what I feel like is a major problem in dating today. And I think this honestly spans across generations, age ranges, everything. It's just an overall issue that we have in humanity. And that is emotional intelligence. It is something a lot of people get away with skating through life without having any emotional intelligence until you actually get into a romantic relationship. And if you do not have emotional intelligence, things really fall apart because a relationship will push you to get to places you haven't even been to before within yourself. Like, it will force you to grow. And if you lack emotional intelligence, that growth may be very uncomfortable for you. So that's a problem I think a lot of us have. And how I believe that manifests, especially in heterosexual relationships, is oftentimes the male has a lack of emotional intelligence. And I do feel like men were kind of brought up that way in our society. I hate to say it. I kind of have a beef with boy moms for that reason. Like, we are raising our daughters in this society to be overachievers, to be people pleasers, to stretch ourselves thin and want to serve everyone and have this yearning to desperately want to be loved. But then we forget to raise our sons. Michelle Obama also, I believe, had like a quote on this where she talked about it. I want to pull it up actually. Oh yeah, she said, "We love our boys and we raise our girls." In so few words, it really says so much about how we are parenting today and then how that translates to how we act towards each other as adults. We raise girls, we give them high standards, we give them all this pressure. A lot of us grow up to have like crippling anxiety or people-pleasing issues or overachieving complexes, and then boys are given the soft treatment a little bit. They are not necessarily taught about accountability or emotional intelligence or how to apologize or how to be empathetic. And so you have these women who are overly empathetic and overly people-pleasing and desperately seeking to be loved. And then they are trying to make it work with a generation of men who don't even know how to apologize, don't even know how to say sorry, don't even know how to express empathy, don't even know how to treat a woman and honor her feminine energy because they don't even want to be in the masculine energy. I hate to say it, but we're gonna go there. Yes, that is the case. And so then a lot of women are stuck, living in the feminine and masculine energy. And that is just a complete imbalance because today's men, they want to be baby just like the way their mothers did for them. And I'm sorry, I'm not your mom. I'm really sorry. I can love you, but if you love me the way a woman should be loved, I can love you the way a man should be loved. But if you want to act like the princess, that ain't gonna work because there's only room for one of those here, and that's me. Fun fact, actually, my name does mean princess. It's an Igbo name. Yeah, shout out to my Nigerians. Anyways, as you can see, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I think it is incredibly frustrating, not even just in the dating scape, but just if you have to deal with men, you may run into this issue. A lot of times, like, you can try to have a serious conversation with them and then they'll be like, "I don't know what you want me to say." And it's like, bro, I literally just listed it out. What do you mean? Oh, you weren't actively listening. You don't even know what actively listening means. It's incredibly frustrating and we don't have to deal with it. Just because that might be 70% of what's out there doesn't mean we have to endure it. And that leads to my next point. We need to raise our standards completely. There should be no reason why in our 20s a man should be making us stressed at all. This is another revelation I've had. Some of us desire to be loved. Some of us desire that connection so bad that in the process we can deny ourselves and lose ourselves because we are letting go of our self-respect, dealing with someone who doesn't really respect us. It's sad. I've been there, and when you're out of the woods, you can realize a lot of things out of that. I would talk to my older relatives and they would say, marriage is hard, it's work, it's good work, but it's work. In your 20s, your relationship should not be work. This is when it should be easy. We should not be dealing with trials and tribulations in our 20s. I'm sorry. Because for me, as an ambitious girl myself, this era for me is all about building my future, building my wealth, setting things up for success. So in no way can I afford to have a huge distraction called a toxic male. Absolutely not. I don't have time for it. We don't realize how much that drains us, how much it distracts us until it's over and we realize, oh my God, what have I been doing? For example, I remember in college, right before I landed my internship at Atlantic, I had stopped talking to this guy, and that's when I was really applying and, doing the interviews and stuff and putting my portfolio together. And of course I got the job, and I had this thought and I was like, wow, this is what I can do when I am putting 100% of my brain capacity towards me. I can get exactly what I want. I can get exactly what I'm working towards because I'm putting 100% towards me, not towards a relationship that is going nowhere but to hell. No, I'm putting it towards me, and the beauty of that is I can actually receive it back as blessings because it's something that's worthwhile putting energy into because it's me. That was an eye-opening experience, and of course, along the way, you can think that, but you can forget that at the same time too, because life comes at you fast. One minute you're in a happy relationship, the next things are going south, and you want to cling to things to make it work. And that goes back to how I was saying we were raised differently, because women, we are people pleasers, we are try-harders, and we want to fix things, we want to build things. That's who we are. But we cannot fall into the trap of wasting our brain capacity trying to fix something that ain't worth fixing, that isn't meant for us. The longer you hold on to that, the longer you are postponing your blessings and the things that are actually meant for you. That was something I definitely had to realize recently, and I don't want to forget that again. I do not. However, that leads to my next and final point. Sometimes we have an opposite response. Like, let's say your situationship just fell apart or whatever. You look at the dating pool and you're just like, damn, it's slim pickings out here. Sometimes the next line of thinking that we resort to is to cut things off altogether. As an ambitious girl myself, I've thought about that. I've thought, you know what, if I want to focus on my goals, I got to focus up, and I'm not doing this at all. I'm not even going to try. The man don't talk to me, please. Like, I don't want any men to talk to me. I'm done. Like, blah, blah. Let me focus on the bag. But someone who offers and brings a interesting perspective to this table is Clarke Peoples. I really admire her, and I find her perspective on dating to be quite refreshing. She is a beautiful Black queen, successful. She's that girl, and she's focused on her career right now. She has made that clear, but she has said that doesn't mean I can't enjoy great experiences or get to know people, and that is incredibly crucial. We deserve to still have fun. We still deserve to be treated nicely. Just because, yes, 70%, maybe 80%, maybe 90%, depends on where you are, of the men out there may not be up to par, there is still a good 30 to 20% who are worth your time and can treat you the way you want to be treated. And just because you were burned in the past or you had your time wasted in the past also doesn't mean that when those people cross your path, you can't give them a chance either. That is something I've definitely almost caught myself doing, and I'm glad I did not, because it's like, why make the few good guys out there pay for something a guy who didn't deserve you did? That's not their fault. If someone wants to love you right, let them. You deserve to have that great experience. And listen, even if you don't want a relationship, you don't want to be something completely serious, that doesn't mean you have to be completely alone. You can still get to know people and have fun. And I think that was a concept that was hard for me to wrap my head around, because I feel like I'm an all in or all out kind of person. But that's something I learned from Clarke, is like, she is not trying to have a relationship. She's living city to city. But, I see her and I'm like, it's possible to casually date and it still be meaningful. And I emphasize that because just because you were casually dating doesn't mean you need to have a roster of half-baked guys. I don't believe in that either. I don't believe, and like I said in the last point, I don't believe anyone should be wasting your time or wasting your brain capacity. I'm not by any means saying to entertain a whole host of guys that ain't really all that, just to say you have guys on your roster. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the people that are high value and match you as a high value woman are worthy of your time, and don't completely close yourself off because you want to focus on the things you want to focus on. That is possible as long as you honor your boundaries and are open to receiving great treatment. I also think that if you have been through a tough time in the past with relationships or dating, I think that the most refreshing and the most revolutionary thing you can do for yourself, and low-key your subconscious as well, is to still live with an open heart and still be open to proper treatment. It tells your brain that, look, I am deserving of what I really want. I am deserving of this amazing treatment and amazing romance. I am deserving of that. Just because I had a bad experience doesn't mean I'm not capable of receiving it. Be open to it because you deserve it, and that's what you should be getting. If you decide to casually date in a meaningful way, one thing that's super important to remember is that not everyone's meant for you, and you need to have discernment when it comes to who to pick and who is actually worth your time. It's like, okay, if I'm a 1% kind of woman, that means that only 1% of guys out there are probably gonna match my energy. And you know what? That's okay. Be patient for it. I know that as a 23-year-old, most of the guys that approach me may not be what I am looking for, and that is also okay. You do not need to host a roster of guys who are in the 99% just to say you have people. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But again, you also deserve to have fun. So if you meet people who are decent in this world, maybe give them a chance, because you deserve a nice little dinner. You deserve flowers because you probably have been through it, and you deserve a little bit of relief. So yeah, those are basically my thoughts on this episode. Let me know if you guys want to hear more about dating, navigating dating, relationships, all of that, maybe even friendships too. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And now it is time for the song of the week. This week's song of the week is Hot Commodity by Trina. I love this song. It's a baddie song. It just makes you feel like you're hot, and it reminds you are a hot commodity. You are that girl. You are just very much sought after. You are very much a hot commodity. You know, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the baddest of them all? That's what she says. And you know what? That's a great question to ask yourself every day. And that is why you should add this to your playlist or listen to it on the Mindfully Aligned playlist linked below. Yes, that concludes this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this little change of scenery. We got the little cozy vibes going on. Yeah, but I hope you appreciated it. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. If you say this song, thank you for kicking it with me. I'll see you next episode. Bye.